Farmer Joe here, coming at you fresh from the field. So in today's video, we're going to talk about harvesting and storing vegetables. So you've grown this amazing garden and the abundance is ready to be harvested. Now what do? How do you know when to harvest it? And what do you do after you've harvested it? So there's basically let's talk about three different categories. There's greens, there's root crops, and there's fruiting crops. So greens is everything like spinach, like this amazing overwintering spinach in our greenhouse, like lettuce, like kale, like arugula, Swiss chard, all these leafy vegetables. The idea with greens is that you want to harvest them when they've gotten to their maximal size before they've started yellowing. So for instance, this spinach is beautiful now, but if we wait another 2 weeks, it'll probably start to get a little yellow as the chlorophyll degrades, as the plant gets older. And also what's going to happen is that it's going to go to seed, which means it's going to shoot this seed stalk up, and it's going to get a little tough and leathery and not as enjoyable. So greens, you really want to harvest them once they get to that nice size, before they start yellowing, before they go to the seed. Certain crops like kale, Swiss chard, and leaf lettuce can actually be cut and reharvested several times. So with kale and Swiss chard, you want to pick off the large leaves, leave the smaller ones to regrow. The key with greens is that you need to get them cool right away. You want to harvest them early in the morning before the sun has had time to heat them up, and then you want to put them in an ice-cold water bath. It doesn't actually have to have ice in it, but just fill up your sink with cold water and dunk it in there, then dry it off, spin it off with a salad spinner, or shake it off if we're talking about kale. Put them in a bag and put them in the fridge. They want to be stored at about 4 degrees Celsius with 90% humidity, so quite humid in a bag. The next category we're going to talk about is root crops. So we're talking about carrots, beets, turnips, radishes, all those root crops. For those, you're really going to be looking at size. Once they get to a decent size, they're ready to be harvested. For instance, if you're growing Napoli carrots, you want to see, is the tip of the carrot rounded? Because with a Napoli carrot, it'll keep growing until the tip is nicely rounded. That's a good way of knowing it. And so once again, you want to harvest them, you want to wash them off, store them in the fridge in a plastic bag at 90% humidity. The other thing with root crops is if you're going to be storing them for a long time, so if you're going to be storing them for 4 to 6 months, like if you're harvesting in the fall and you want to store them all the way until April, it's better to store them dirty and wash them as you go. The third category is fruiting crops. So you might say, fruiting crops, I'm not growing fruit. Well, surprise, you are! A fruit, botanically speaking, is anything that's the result of the pollinization of a flower. So tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, eggplants, zucchinis, these are all fruit. Beans, these are all fruit. And so with fruit, you want to use a highly sophisticated technological device called your mouth to test the sugar content of your fruit. So you can also use your eyes, another highly developed technology, which is called the eyes, and you look at it, and when the tomato has turned from green to orange to red, you're ready to harvest it. Did you know that a green pepper is just a red pepper that's not ripe yet? Amazing! There's no such difference. It's just an unripe red pepper. The challenge, though, is to go from a green pepper to a red pepper takes, about a week to 2 weeks, and the risk is that an insect will come along and take a bite out of it before it's ripened to red. So that's why you might want to eat some of the peppers green. Also, picking that first green pepper will actually stimulate the plant to ripen faster, because it'll be like, oh my god, I'm being attacked! So often what I recommend is to harvest the first pepper off your plant green and then let the others ripen. And they either ripen to orange or yellow or red depending on the variety. And so those fruiting crops, the ideal storage temperature is 12 degrees. If you don't have 12 degrees, you can literally leave them on your counter. For tomatoes or cucumbers, zucchinis, peppers can go in the fridge. No big deal. So that's how you harvest your veggies. And then after that, you just eat them. And if you're wondering what to do, if you're looking for some inspiration because you planted too many zucchinis and you've got zucchinis coming out the wazoo, well, head on over to our website. We've got a recipe database, and sign up to social media. We post regular recipes all summer long. And by all means, please share us your recipes, because we're not inventing these recipes. They're actually your recipes that we're repurposing into our social media. It's a little inside secret there. And yeah, well, happy gardening and onwards and upwards.